Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the massive turnaround plan for one of real estate's most powerful and lately most troubled organizations, the National Association of Realtors. Now, get this. This isn't a quote from some outside critic or a hit piece in the news. This came directly from a survey of over 150,000 of NAR's own members. It's a brutally honest look in the mirror, and it really sets the stage for the enormous challenge ahead.
And what that feedback tells you is that this is a full-blown crisis of trust. We're not talking about making a few small adjustments here. We're talking about deep, fundamental problems that have completely shaken confidence from the inside out.
And walking right into that fire is Nykia Wright, NAR's new CEO. She's the one who's been tasked with what is, no exaggeration, probably one of the biggest and most complicated turnaround jobs in the entire industry right now.
And Wright herself is totally upfront about it. She doesn't pull any punches when talking about the scale of this task. This quote really says it all. It captures the insane pressure, but also the personal commitment needed to turn a ship this big.
But here's the kicker. This whole turnaround effort comes with a serious sense of urgency. This isn't some open-ended, we'll get to it when we get to it kind of plan. There is a very specific and very unforgiving clock ticking over this entire project.
And there it is. Wright has pinpointed a critical window of just 18 to 24 months. She's pointed out that statistically, after that point, the probability of a successful turnaround just drops off a cliff. So the pressure is on to get results and to get them fast.
All right, so what's the actual game plan here? How are they going to pull this off? Well, the newly approved strategy is built on 3 core pillars, and it's designed to attack this crisis from every possible angle.
The whole idea is to tackle this complex mess from 3 different directions. First, you've got the external economic pressures hammering the industry. Second, you have to deal with the expectations of your own members and stakeholders. And third, you've got to fix the internal problems, the organizational constraints that have been holding NAR back for so long.
So let's break that down a little. Under pressures, we're talking about the real-world stuff, like low inventory and high interest rates. For expectations, it's all about members demanding transparency and a clear value proposition. And constraints, that's the internal mess, broken governance and out-of-control budgeting.
But look, a plan is just a piece of paper, right? The real question is, how do you actually turn that strategy into real, tangible action?
It starts with the people. Wright has this really uncompromising philosophy on hiring that's the absolute foundation for this change. She basically says that to fix the organization, you've got to have the absolute best people in every single seat. No exceptions.
And believe me, this wasn't just talk. This philosophy was put into action immediately. Almost a third of NAR's entire workforce has been replaced since Wright came on board. That tells you this isn't just shuffling a few chairs around. This is a deep, structural overhaul.
And in their place, 8 new A-player executives have been brought in. And these aren't just any new faces. We're talking about hires for super strategic roles, like a brand new chief data officer and a new general counsel. Positions that are absolutely critical for modernizing the organization and dealing with all its legal headaches. So how do they get it all done? Well, everything is driven by what Wright calls the pace. There are 75, that's right, 75 different projects happening right now, and each one has its own executive sponsor and its own budget. It's all about making sure accountability is tracked right down to the molecular project level.
So what's the whole point of all this? The end game is to completely transform NAR's role in the industry. It's about flipping the script from an organization that's always reacting and on its back foot to one that's a proactive, collaborative partner that actually gets ahead of challenges and leads from the front.
Okay, so we've talked about the plan, the people, and the pace. But what does this new, proactive NAR actually look like? What are its immediate goals for the brokerage community that it's supposed to be serving?
To show they're serious right away, Wright has laid out 4 huge priorities. A total budget transformation and governance reform that directly tackles that member feedback about a lack of transparency and accountability. And at the same time, de-risking the portfolio and creating new legal forums, that's all about proactively taking on the industry's biggest challenges instead of waiting for them to blow up into another crisis.
You know, at the end of the day, every single thing we've talked about, from replacing a third of the staff to those 75 projects to the budget reforms, it all boils down to this one single objective. Because without rebuilding trust and proving they're transparent, none of the other changes will matter one bit. and that really leaves us with the big question hanging over this whole master plan. The strategy's in place, the new team is being built, and that clock is definitely ticking. But turning around a century-old institution is a monumental task. I guess the next 18 months are going to tell the whole story.